welcome back to Retail War Games. Today's guest is Brandon Fugal. He is the CEO of Colliers. We talk a little bit about Skinwalker Ranch as well. Enjoy the episode.
Brandon himself is larger than life. He's known by everyone.
Who is Brandon not a friend to is the better question.
Yeah, I love everyone.
You give
fortunate.
a lot.
I'm fortunate to be surrounded by incredible people. Really, I in every sector of the economy, and we're just getting warmed up. I think Utah, as a community, is coming together, is taking a leap forward. So I think, are we on? Are we being recorded? We're rolling.
So we can just keep going.
This
Wow.
This is it. This is real.
We just make it comfortable.
That's a good thing I didn't drop any F-bombs.
You know what?
It's all right
Feel
if
free
you
to
do.
drop an F-bomb if you
Oh,
need to.
I
We're
know.
going for
This is Utah
authenticity.
County.
Sometimes it's the perfect word for a situation.
Well,
And I just, it
you
works
never know.
sometimes. You never know.
Well, my CEO, Lou Kramer, says it's a technical term when I use it.
I love this.
He's a lawyer, so it
Yes.
makes
I love
sense to
that
him.
one.
I love that you're so Utah County. Like you are Pleasant Grove, you are local boy.
Yeah,
Love
born
that.
and raised Utah County. I've lived nearly my entire life in Pleasant Grove, Utah, which is where I've been. Not only in my life, but my ancestors settled, coming from Denmark in the 1860s, and other than 2 years serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Hawaii. Yes, and there is a mission there.
My niece just got called yesterday to the Laie mission.
Oh my gosh!
So
That's
she gets
awesome.
to serve around the temple grounds and the visitor center.
That's so cool.
That is the most
cool?
celestial mission of all missions on the planet. Like,
course.
she just won. You can tell her.
Okay.
She just won the mission lottery. Like, of all the ones to basically draw, Laie, Hawaii is like the sister missionary's paradise.
So she
Wow.
and it's a good thing she did, because I'll tell you just a quick funny story. She is very driven, but she only wants things her way. So she told no one other than her mom and dad and one brother that she had submitted her papers. And the reason is she said, if I don't get called somewhere I want to go, I'm not going. So she gets called to Hawaii, and she was just ecstatic, told everybody immediately.
Of course,
So
yeah,
now it's a
she hit the
done deal.
lottery.
Isn't that a funny story? She's
Yeah.
great.
Funny.
Well,
She's
she
super
hit the
funny.
jackpot. That's my mission. That's my
And you still
my
love
former
Hawaii
mission.
because it's part of your current business portfolio.
You
right
bet.
Now.
I have a 1,200-acre project that we just expanded to over 4,000 acres overlooking the north shore of Oahu. It's a world-class agricultural and sustainability-driven project that is returning fee simple ownership to the local community, so people can buy 5 to 20-acre farm lots with all the infrastructure for the first time, and it's my old area. I remember driving past the Dole Plantation every day on the way out to Haleiwa, out to really the most famous surf town in the world.
Yeah.
Haleiwa, Oahu, Hawaii, and seeing this beautiful, pristine landscape, just this terraced farmland that we now, and myself and partners, including Woodbury Corporation, have taken forward, and we've been able to put together a master plan that not only brings sustainability and farming opportunity to the community to participate in, but we're also reintroducing indigenous plants and trees. I mean, we're actually involved in a reforestation effort that is, I think, really special. And it's fun to be part of something that will preserve the environment.
How brilliant. What stage are you at for anyone that might be interested?
We have been selling lots, and they've been improved. We're in the process of updating the infrastructure, and we're already working with partners in Hawaii on the replanting of the indigenous species there. So pretty exciting to see that.
It's remarkable. It makes me really curious to know more of your personal interests. Like why that, Brandon? I mean, you're tied to Hawaii. You've mentioned that, obviously, but why sustainability? Why think about Hawaii and the indigenous community?
Well, Hawaii is a special place not only because it was my mission And I had, I think, one of the most rich cultural experiences you can imagine, because it is a melting pot. As the gateway to the Pacific Theater, and I think a really strategic outpost to the United States, it holds significance. But you also have every culture. I mean, all the Asian cultures are prevalent there, as well as Polynesia. And to have an opportunity to serve people from all walks of life, whether they be from the Philippines or Tonga, Samoan, Japan. Yeah, I was English speaking, but I did learn, by the end of my mission, I learned how to speak really inappropriate Tongan, which comes in
So
handy
valuable.
once in a while, because we have a vibrant Polynesian community here in
Absolutely.
Utah.
Yeah,
The
no doubt.
Samoan and Tongan community is alive and well here in Utah, and it's fun to interact with that community and to be able to champion the same causes. But I don't think there is a more special place on the planet. There's something truly special about that area, and the energy, just the feeling, is unlike anywhere else on the planet. And it's the United States, so you gotta love America. I mean, I travel quite a bit. I've seen all parts of Europe, just got back from Mexico, and every time I come back to the United States, as much as I love some of these exotic places that I've traveled to, and you know, the history, the rich history there in Europe, whether it be Paris or Rome, there is nothing like the United States of America. You come back, and I literally get down and kiss the ground of this country when I come back, because there is something about this environment that we've been so blessed with. Free market capitalism that is still thankfully alive. Hopefully we can
Knock on
keep
wood.
it that way.
Several
And
of us will knock on wood together.
and the American dream, the opportunity for people to create, to have no boundaries. And you look at some of our most celebrated business leaders, whether it be Jeff Bezos, son of immigrants, Elon Musk, South African, who immigrated here.
Son of immigrants.
I mean, our most celebrated entrepreneurs currently are a testament to the American dream and
great
it being
point.
alive and well. And I think Utah has a special place in that we have a pioneer ancestry and heritage that that saw this whole community transformed from being a desert into being an incredible environment for growth. I mean, we're currently the #1 state in the United States. We're ranked #1. It's the #1 economy. And we're going to be experiencing growth on a level that has never been seen before. I mean, the record in migration coupled with our birth rate is this perfect storm that brings both challenges but great opportunities for the
Absolutely.
Wasatch Front. So Hawaii's just a fun outgrowth of that. So to answer your
Yeah.
question
I love it.
earlier, it's
I think if people look at your life, they might think, oh, it's kind of eclectic, right? Because you've got Hawaii, you've got Skinwalker Ranch, you collect amazing memorabilia from movies, commercial real estate. But having known you and observed you, it all does make sense, because I think you have this zeal that's like, and I mean this in a really respectful way, but like a childlike zeal for all of these things.
yeah. I'm just a teenager from the 80s stuck in a 51-year-old body.
Yeah.
I'm a little pissed off
I
about
love it.
that. But really, I was raised on a steady diet of Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, James Cameron, Coppola, Ridley Scott. And my cultural influences, in large part, have been informed by the incredible vision of so many people that have transformed cinema, television. And you look at our faith traditions here in Utah, and I don't care what your background is, there is a very important faith tradition that is a key part of the success strategy here along the Wasatch Front, and a part of that entrepreneurial spirit, at least in my life and in my world.
Right, absolutely.
And I've just chose to lean into it.
It's amazing.
So what about your parents and your family? What did you learn from there? You mentioned the immigrant parents of Jeff Bezos and others. What did you learn from your parents that influence you now?
I tell people I'm the son of a ditch digger, which is actually true. My father ran a construction company that was almost bankrupt back in the 80s as I was growing up. They were barely keeping the lights on, and it was really touch and go. He's the third generation of a utility construction company that was launched by my great-grandfather in 1920. His name was Niels Fugal. And it was interesting. Growing up, it was expected that I would work out on construction crews at the time that I was able. And so my first summers as a teenager and getting my driver's license were actually spent working in Idaho, up in your old
home
country.
state.
I won't hold that against you. But
Proud
it was
Idahoan.
funny. I remember spending an entire summer living in Preston, Idaho, which is where they filmed Napoleon Dynamite. I lived in this second-level crack whore apartment above Main Street, downtown Preston, that I'd return to late every evening from working, literally digging ditches, following a backhoe with the shovel all day as the fiber optic infrastructure that would ultimately transform the entire Intermountain West was being installed and plowed underground by the company. But I grew up...
And how old were you?
I was 15, 16 years old. My dad drove an old brown Pinto. We called it the Brown Bomb when I was in junior high. I was proud of my dad. My dad is my greatest example and mentor, but I hated that car, so I'd have him drop me off about a block before Pleasant Grove Junior High School because it was so noisy.
Sounds like
It
a lot
was
of
a little,
teenagers.
little bit embarrassing. And he'd graduated to a beat-up Astro van by the time I was in high school.
goodness.
Grew up in the same 1,700 square foot house in Pleasant Grove. So contrary to what some people assume in social media or other circles, I was not raised with any money or wealth. In fact, was raised in really a really down-to-earth, humble circumstance. There was no mission fund. There was no college fund. My parents essentially said, if you want to go to college, then you better get good grades and qualify for a scholarship or be prepared to work on and off summers like your dad did in order to make your way through college and be able to pay for it. And so there were no handouts. I'm the eldest son of 4 boys, so I guess you could call me the trailblazer. And my father was the oldest son as well of his dad, and so there was a tradition that was being followed. But I took a bit of a turn my senior year in high school. As I turned 18, I had an obsession with business that started when I was 13 and grew into me having my own subscriptions to the Wall Street Journal and Business Week. And I was obsessed with knowing not only who the key decision makers were, the captains of industry that rule the world, that control the landscape of our economies, but how they got into the position of leadership and strength that they're in. And so I entered my senior year looking forward to the future, and by the end of senior year and graduation, I identified what I believed to be the only career path at the time that would afford me the opportunity to work with the captains of industry, the CEOs, the entrepreneurs that I was reading about over the years, and that was commercial real estate. I could be licensed at 18, right out of high school, and jump into that career.
Talk about foresight. To be a high school senior, graduating high school, and be able to identify that speaks to which is now obvious, this insatiable curiosity that you have, that drives you to go learn and figure out your path.
Yeah, it was.
Kudos.
I looked at other paths. I mean, my favorite movie in high school was Wall Street. And even though it was rated R, my dad allowed it. I can't believe he allowed us to check it out down at the Adventureland video store. And so initially I thought, I'll get into securities brokerage. And then I looked at banking for a couple of days. And then I ultimately was drawn to commercial real estate, and the rest is history. I jumped into the business in summer of 1991. This is before the internet, before the World Wide Web. And if you had a fax machine or a telecopier, you were state of the art.
You were
back
top
then.
dog if you had one of those.
Very few people had cell phones because they were so cost prohibitive. So most of us, I remember I had a pocket pager that first year in the business. But I quickly learned that the most powerful thing that you can really wield in business is information. And Gordon Gekko, in that favorite movie of mine, stated it to the young protege, Bud Fox, played by Charlie Sheen. He said, the most powerful commodity I know of is information. And I found that if I could build a database, a contact management database, that would help me track the entire market, every building and every company that occupied those buildings from one end of the Wasatch Front down to the other, and build a calendaring system into that would prompt me to call people in advance of their leases expiring or expansion moves.
Incredible.
It would help me develop a crystal ball. It would differentiate me. And I think...
Hey, sorry for this brief stop. I want to talk a little bit about our sponsor, Volcanic Retail. Volcanic Retail is a B2B platform specifically made between retail brands and retail buyers. So you can quickly organize, use our predictive analytics and computer learning, be matched up with the right retailers that have the exact same specs that you're looking for. Go register at volcanicretail.com. Let's get back in and listen to the rest of the episode.
The one thing I have to say about business in general, and those who are probably listening or watching this podcast may find interesting, is I think the key to success in business is being able to differentiate yourself from the competition. It's not just being a subject matter expert, which is necessary for success, but being able to differentiate yourself from the sea of competitors and people that are all scrambling to make an impact. And I think that was my differentiator, was the ability to leverage technology and information to develop a crystal ball that would allow me to see the chessboard and to be able to anticipate some of the key moves. And so even though I starved to death my first year, I think I made $500 working full-time my first year while going to school at what is now Utah Valley University, which is Jeanette and I's favorite institution.
That's right. Bleed green.
We totally bleed
There's
green.
the Fugal building at UVU.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Got
Fugal
the
Gateway
new
building.
Fugal Gateway building there that everyone gets to pass through when they come.
Congratulations and thank you.
No, it's an honor to be able to go back and you look at those influences. But
who is your you're right out of high school. You take this first job. You make 500 whopping bucks in your first year. Who were you working with and for at the time? And then tell us the transition to where Caldwell came in. So was that kind of the next phase-ish?
The top commercial real estate broker in the state was a guy named Scott McDonald. He had a boutique commercial real estate firm. I reached out to him right after graduating from high school while I was working to expedite my commercial real estate licensing process. And I went and interviewed with Scott, and he had signs on every Class A building really in Salt Lake Valley and what very few existed down here in Utah County. He really had command of the suburban market. And I remember he made me wait for like an hour and a half in his little reception area. And when he finally gave me an audience, he essentially listened to my pitch that I had done my research, my due diligence, and had selected a career in commercial real estate, and I would love to come work for him and his firm because I saw him as the market leader when it came to especially corporate real estate. Well, Scott at the end said, "You seem like a nice kid, but my advice for you is to go on a mission," just assuming that I was LDS.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on a mission, get your college degree, go sell Xerox copy machines for a couple of years, and then come back and talk to me. True story. I was dejected. I walked out with kind of my tail between my legs, and I thought, wow, that didn't go as I thought. I thought he'd be so impressed with how ambitious I am, and I thought there'd be an opportunity. And anyways, long story short, I came back multiple times and wouldn't take no for an answer. And he ultimately
the ultimate salesperson,
yeah,
right there.
yeah, he ultimately gave me an opportunity. And there was a little vacant desk looking into a blank wall in the corner of the office. And it was kind of like being banished to outer darkness in that office. But I think, I think that he probably believed that I was only going to last 30 days. I think he was surprised when I got my mission call to Hawaii, 14, 15 months into it. They didn't believe that I was going to Hawaii. They made me bring my call into the office because they thought for sure I was going to be sent to some third world challenging environment where I'd be eating grasshoppers and sleeping on dirt. They couldn't believe that I was called to Hawaii.
That's really fun.
But it was a great start to my career, and those core principles that drove me then, developing proprietary intelligence and data that I could leverage in order to advise my clients in a way that would help them beat the market or take advantage of opportunities that weren't readily available or visible to just everyone, was a key differentiator. And being able to go out and work. A lot of people ask, well, what is the real key to success? And in addition to some of those talking points, differentiating yourself, becoming a subject matter expert, I really think the older I get, I think the key to success is being willing to do the shit that no one else wants to do.
Like back to your ditch digging days
in
Idaho, and which I'm having a hard time picturing you doing that because if I remember right, you don't own a pair of jeans.
I did back then. I had a pair of Gerbeau jeans.
You're digging ditches in Gerbeau.
I had Gerbeau jeans and boots, but I haven't owned. Once I went into the mission field, I was fully committed to my business, to corporate real estate. I made it a point to never have a pair of jeans or tennis shoes, just simply because it wasn't practical, and I got so comfortable just lounging around, even on the weekends, in slacks, in dress pants and that kind of attire, that it just became a part of.
No, it's your brand.
It's who you are.
Yeah,
it's either I was dressed up on the weekend, lounging around, or after working 80 to 100 hours a week, it's pretty customary that I sleep until noon on Saturday or Sunday, and I wake up in a daze and I walk around in my G's feeling like totally disoriented, and then I have Fruit Loops with marshmallows, and it takes me a few hours to pull my stuff together, and kind of work on recharging for the week ahead. But that's kind of been my routine.
And then you throw your slacks on immediately.
There you go.
You get them on. That's great.
Your work ethic is unmatched.
Well, it takes one to know one. I don't know anyone that is more connected in the community than Jeanette Bennett. When I heard that Jeanette would be here, I thought, I'm not worthy. I don't know if I can do this podcast. But really, to be able to have a conversation with a fellow community champion who, I swear, you must have 10 jobs between all of the various things.
Well,
I
love the community like you do, and so when there's opportunities to champion the community and the people who are building the community,
Amen.
I'm there,
Yeah.
and so are you. Right.
Amen.
So it's an interesting journey, this thing we call life, and
No
the
doubt.
learning experiences.
Professionally, sorry to interrupt you, but you then went on, got involved with Caldwell, right?
Yeah. So in 1998,
And you became the number one agent in the entire United States. Actually, it was the world.
the world.
It was the number one
Yeah.
agent in the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened, Brandon?
Oh gosh. So in 1998, when I was 25, the opportunity came up to secure the franchise for Coldwell Banker Commercial, which was the most storied, oldest commercial real estate brand in the United States. It was founded by two gentlemen named Colbert Coldwell, Benjamin Banker. It was sold, though, in, I think, 1989, the late 80s, by Sears Financial to a private equity group who had to rebrand as CB Commercial, which is now called CBRE. Well, when the non-compete had run out and the opportunity came available for myself and my old boss, my old mentor, Scott McDonald, we relaunched Coldwell Banker Commercial in this market in 98, and within 24 months, we're the leading commercial real estate office in the world for the Coldwell Banker Commercial brand, and became a bit of a juggernaut. And I think I was in my late 20s I think when I was
Remarkable.
leading the world with the brand, with that platform, and we went through a number of changes. We were acquired by the parent, by a publicly traded firm, and then in 2013, I took us private. I spun us, our Utah Intermountain operation, spun us out of the publicly traded company known as Realogy, which is the largest real estate operating and holding company on the planet. I think that they're the master franchisor for Sotheby's, Coldwell Banker, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, and Coldwell Banker Commercial. And we ended up taking it private, and I took ownership, hired a CEO. His name's Lou Kramer, who's been with me for over a decade, who was the founding president of World Trade Center Utah, and just a dynamo. And we embarked on a very ambitious national expansion strategy. We went from 3 offices to 30 offices in 11 states with over 700 professionals, and we had incredible momentum. And in 2018, as we had established that footprint, and I had grown really fast. I mean, I think we were the fastest privately held commercial real estate franchisee in the country. There was an opportunity to merge and partner with Colliers International, which is one of the big 4 global commercial real estate service providers. And in 2018, I executed on that deal and merged with Colliers, which is now the 3rd largest commercial real estate service provider in the world. I mean, Colliers has 500 offices in 65 countries with 18,000 professionals, represents a good share of the Fortune 500, as well as major institutions globally. And I guess you could say we graduated into the Ivy Leagues and are currently the fastest growing commercial real estate platform in the world. And so,
incredible.
I'm fortunate to be chairman and co-own the Intermountain operation as we've been opening new chapters to service not only the Intermountain region in a more powerful way, but also to be able to leverage a global platform and presence to be able to service clients regardless of where they're at on the planet. I mean, we now are part of a global community. That's one of the things that we've observed that has changed so dramatically with the internet, World Wide Web, with e-commerce enabling so much expansion and growth. We are, whether we like it or not, we are to a degree a borderless community on this planet of consumers, entrepreneurs, and to have a global platform backing us is a fun part of our trajectory right now. And I've leveraged that to invest in virtually every other sector of the economy on a personal basis.
I love that. And I love that you used the word borderless a minute ago, because I also think that ties into Skinwalker. Borderless from Earth to beyond.
Yeah. Skinwalker Ranch is an interesting project. I tell people it's the most unique commercial real estate project, if you want to call it that, in the world. It's no secret. I kept it secret for a number of years. For 4 years, I didn't disclose that I was the owner of the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet that had been part of a Pentagon-funded black budget program between 2008 and 2013, owned by an elusive billionaire out of Las Vegas.
Why did you keep it a secret?
I did not want my name, my identity, associated with fringe topics. I didn't want my identity or my legacy tied to UFOs, bizarre cattle mutilation, strange phenomena. I kept that very, very private, even though I was intrigued and interested. Although I was a skeptic, I acquired the ranch in April of 2016 as a skeptic, as someone who had never seen a UFO or a ghost or an orb or anything of the sort. And I believed that there was a natural, prosaic explanation for what had been reported. And I ultimately thought I would donate it to the Boy Scouts of America. I really did. At the time, I was on the board of the National Parks Council, here locally with Stan Lockhart,
Right.
dear
love that
friend.
idea. I'm loving this.
And I
Boy
thought,
Scouts.
That's so
I don't
good.
know. I don't know if I
disprove-
like the idea of Boy Scouts out there.
yeah, I'm going to
I still
debunk
like
this.
the ingenuity of it. It's like, let's pair this amazing place for adventure with the Boy Scouts.
Well,
I do. I have to
I
admit,
honestly
love
thought that there was a natural explanation, that it was just all a bunch of kind of mythology, and my design was to ultimately allow the Scouts to probably take advantage of it and donate it to them for let them use it for $1 a year or something insignificant. Because I, as an Eagle Scout, scouting program had a very profound impact on me in my life and preparing me for adulthood. And there were great opportunities there. What I didn't realize is that it was real. I didn't realize that, and didn't believe initially, that the strange phenomena that had been reported for decades, if not millennia, on this property in the Uinta Basin was absolutely real. And for whatever reason, the high frequency of unidentified aerial phenomena and bizarre, sometimes very disturbing activity that exists there, it's not only real and well documented, especially today due to my investigation, but it really provides evidence that we are not alone in the universe, that we are part of a much more complex reality than I think people would think on the surface, and that the nature of our reality, that our existence, is something that we are just barely coming to understand and really scratch the surface of. And I think the answers to a lot of those age-old questions, where we came from, why we're here, where we're going, what is our place in the universe, what is the nature of consciousness itself, the answers to those questions may very well be held in the investigation that we're conducting right now, 24/7, 365 days a year, at Skinwalker Ranch in the heart of the Uinta Basin.
Wow.
And it's now captured global attention.
I know. I was just going to say, you hit on something, because it's the #1 show on the History Channel.
Yeah,
is that right?
last year we really commanded Tuesday nights on cable. I was quite proud. We
pretty
beat the
awesome.
Real Housewives a number of times. And,
that
2
is
Utah shows.
kudos.
Yeah.
and we've really thankfully captured global attention. I think what we are investigating and researching resonates with people on a very, very core level. And to be able to use scientific rigor, discipline, the resources, and a diversified team of experts that are all pulled together to study and document the nature of what we are seeing play out is something unique. People accuse me of hyperbole, and I don't blame them, but I truly believe that it is the greatest science project on the planet right now.
I love that statement. And honestly, it's this theme in your life. To me, it's the theme of insatiable curiosity. And you want to know, you want to discover, and you want to share it.
I want the truth, and I'm not afraid of it. I want to know the nature of the matrix that we're living in.
Right.
I want to know who, in the same way that as a young teenager I was obsessed with knowing who ruled the world. I mean, who were the captains of industry, who were essentially the puppet masters that controlled our economies. I think the next leap in understanding is to understand the rules of engagement relative to our very existence. And a lot of people are understandably skeptical. I was a skeptic. I truly was at first. And I've been humbled more than I ever would have thought. Now, Jeanette's been out there.
I've been there twice. And I
I haven't been there yet. I need
So
to go.
I flew Jeanette along with President Astrid Tuminez of Utah Valley University, James Clark of Clark Capital, and he's CEO of Clearlink, but he's also was on the board of trustees, and some of the senior staff out on my helicopter to Skinwalker Ranch, because a lot of people don't realize this. President Tuminez is obsessed with the X-Files, her favorite television program, and this is what completely made me fall in love with her. I mean, I was so happy when she told me that her favorite series on television that she and her husband had watched was The X-Files, because this is Skinwalker Ranch is literally, it's like an entire season of The X-Files stuck on one 512-acre assemblage.
Right.
But we flew her out.
And the helicopter ride over there, it's a beautiful helicopter with a great ability to communicate on the way over there. So hearing Brandon and President Tuminez go back and forth on paranormal and physics and all of this, I was just a little kid in a candy store thinking, this is way over my head, but it's super interesting.
That's so cool.
Well, and we witnessed some things happened on that fateful day. We saw some things occur. I mean, equipment malfunctions are pretty customary out there, but to see manipulation of our reality, of our equipment on a whole other level, I mean, you had to get a new iPhone, didn't you? You had a new iPhone.
It ruined my phone. It added a line to it that just never went away. First of all, it drained my battery. Because I had all these plans to take great videos and photos that someone else thought, no, she's not going to have that ability. So it drained my battery. And then it was never the same. It had this line in it, and then, it gradually grew, and I got a new phone out of that deal. And there were other things even more significant than that happened on that
There's
trip.
a first-hand
And our second
witness
trip.
right here next to me then.
So I will say, I wasn't skeptical going in. I was maybe a little nervous, more nervous than skeptical. But once I got there, I actually didn't feel nervous. I felt very curious.
Yeah.
I felt very intrigued. And I came away agreeing with you that it's a scientific place. There are real things happening there that we are starting to understand, and more will come out, more will be understood. But it is a real legitimate place.
Well, the real disarming thing about it is when you first see it, and my first view of the ranch was the same as Jeanette's. It was from above. I had my pilot brother, my business partner, and arguably the finest aviator, I think, in the Western region, if not the planet. Cameron Fugal, my dear brother, is such a skilled aviator. I mean, he's a helicopter and jet pilot.
Cool.
He flew me out there for first look when I inspected the property the week I was closing on it, and I was taken aback by the diversity of the landscape, for one. For another, the beauty. You have this red rock mesa plateau that runs the entire expanse of the property from east to west that has cave systems embedded in it. You have old pioneer homesteads that are interspersed across the property. You have waterways. I mean, there's this dry gulch creek that cuts through the center of the property.
Oh, beautiful.
That holds mysteries, as well as people will see in the upcoming season. We unveil some of the first looks at that dry gulch creek and investigate that area of the ranch. But the diversity and beauty of that landscape, the striking beauty of the landscape, is a bit disarming, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's extremely beautiful. And one of the things that happened that first time is one of my coworkers, who's a brother to me, he's worked with me for 23 years, and he's a petroglyph expert and just an outdoorsman, and he wanted to go with me on that trip. He ended up going on our second trip. So he was out doing his hikes like he did. He found this beautiful rock in the exact shape of the mesa while I was there. And he picked it up and he put it in his pocket and he gave it to you later on. Yeah. Unusual things happen that are related to that mesa in that area.
Oh, I love this.
And I'm excited for the new season.
Yeah. Well, we have season 5 coming April 23rd. So by the time this airs, it may be well into its 5th season. But season 5 will bring 16 new episodes on History Channel that'll also be streaming on Hulu and Amazon Prime.
16 episodes? That's not a stingy season.
No, and I'll tell you, 95% or more of what we film ends up, unfortunately, on the cutting room floor. There just isn't enough time, given the format, to present everything. We do our best to present that which is relevant, that needs to be disclosed to the public.
Overstock has crazy good deals on furniture, outdoor living, rugs, jewelry, decor, and more, all at 30 to 70% off MSRP. Shop their site and unlock an extra 10% off your order with promo code RWG10.
But we're bringing 16 new episodes of this hit series that I think will blow people's minds. And we have a spin-off series that is now entering its 2nd season, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, that takes the investigation beyond the borders of the ranch here in Utah, nationwide, where I send a team of experts that collaborates with my team there, boots on the ground, and we'll be unveiling 16 new episodes of Beyond Skinwalker starting in June.
Brandon, this is so cool.
And what?
This is so cool.
He's the most interesting man in the world.
Oh no, it's
There's almost no doubt about that.
I'm lucky to have the privilege of being the steward.
Well, I'm glad
I see
you
my
are.
ownership as the steward of this property.
Hearing you talk about this, it's kind of a thank heaven moment for me that you are the steward of the property. It's really cool, and that you consider yourself the steward of the property, not the owner, not the overseer, so to say. But
No.
I know this is not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Ask anything. I should have opened our dialogue. I didn't know that we were filming, so
it'll make sense as to why it isn't fair.
yeah. Ask me anything.
But in the spirit of segue, what if you had to sum up what is happening at Skinwalker Ranch in a couple concise sentences? What is it that's happening there? Why does it occur?
We are gathering and presenting the most compelling evidence that we live in a very dynamic universe. We may be interacting with beings from other dimensions of reality. I think we're seeing a host of activity from a diversity of origins and agendas, and I think we're better understanding the nature of our reality through this lens, through the investigation. Why Skinwalker Ranch? Why are we seeing the frequency of activity converging on this 512-acre parcel in the heart of the Uinta Basin? It partially might be due to the geography. When you talk about the Uinta Basin, it really is there is a basin out there that is that is a key feature of the topography and the landscape.
It's like a prism.
Yeah,
Prism
and this
shape of
property,
energy.
if you pull up Google Earth and any topographical map, and you try to identify the dead center of the Uinta Basin, guess where you end up? Skinwalker Ranch. I think that may not be a coincidence. There's also something else going on, both above the property and below. It was funny. The first time I saw the ranch, when I toured it with Bigelow Security, who met me with a pistol at his side, walking out into the pasture as I dropped down in the helicopter for that first tour. You know, one of the first things that he showed me on the landscape was this Masonic symbol that dates back arguably to the 1800s, that is etched into the mesa face, that many people believe symbolizes as above, so below. And as our investigation has progressed, we've verified the fact that there's something going on both above and below that property that defies any natural explanation. There is something buried within that mesa, exotic. We've pulled material out of that mesa as we've been conducting exploratory drills and digs that, according to scientists, even the University of Utah, is not of natural composition. And explain that. How can you be extracting material, thin, metallic, wafer-like material from 400 feet within the depths of this mesa plateau at Skinwalker Ranch that is not naturally occurring, and the composition actually matches closely with the tiles on the exterior of the space shuttle, as one example. And then
How remarkable.
you look at above the ranch, and the numerous tests that we've conducted above Skinwalker Ranch, and GPS malfunctions. Think about that. How much do we rely on our global satellite positioning for everything right
Every
now?
day, yeah.
I mean,
All of us.
it doesn't operate accurately above the ranch.
I can't wait for
There's
season
something.
10, 11, 12.
I
Like,
don't know.
Think
I
of
wish-
everything
I
we're
wish
going to
want
learn.
the answers now.
I wish we
So-
could just keep talking about this, honestly. This
So
is
I'm sorry about the
fascinating.
tangent.
No.
So we're here to talk
This is
about
no, I love this. This is a
retail
brilliant
war games,
tangent, and I'm going
whatever.
to do my best to kind of segue this and kind of glean some of your advice. But as I think about Skinwalker Ranch, my humble brain, feeble brain thinks it's energy. And it's harnessing energy. It's learning about that energy and kind of segueing into life and entrepreneurship. You've done a remarkable job at taking the energies around you and creating some influence out of it and success for you and many others around you. Right. In that spirit, what advice, we have a couple specific questions we've thought about, Jeanette and I, but what advice would you give to entrepreneurs now, kind of, and maybe fit it a little bit to, staging and growing a company, maybe even as it relates to retail and space?
Be fearless. Don't be afraid to fail. I could fill our whole podcast, and perhaps I should have filled our whole podcast with my failures. As the reality is, for every success, there is a whole line of challenges, of failures. Even my acquisition of Skinwalker Ranch, believe it or not, came out of a failed project where I not only lost a significant amount of money and time and was deeply depressed in the wake of that failure, but the relationships that came out of that enterprise opened doors that allowed me to acquire, the most, enigmatic property of its kind on the planet. I can go through so many examples in my life where what seemed to be a failure or challenge, or where I had not been able to see a successful result, ended up taking me down a path, whether I learned something significant through that experience or it led me to greater success, that I'm forever thankful for. I think being fearless and not being risk averse, being willing to take risks, is something that has driven Utah, has driven the world. The frontier has always beckoned, has always driven people to go beyond their comfort zone. And I think that's probably one bit of advice is don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. In fact, do something that is going to make you a little bit, that's going to stretch you and make you uncomfortable. I think progress takes a bit of stretching, and being willing to do that most people aren't willing to do. That's the hallmark of an entrepreneur, is someone who's willing to
phenomenal advice
follow their dreams. So don't be afraid to follow your dreams, and don't be afraid to go against conventional wisdom. My mom and dad, my dad, of course, being my greatest mentor, didn't think that commercial real estate was a real legitimate career path, believe it or not. They supported me. They said they gave me the encouragement. However, they thought, wow, why? I remember having many discussions where they felt, why would you venture into such a risky profession? 100% commission sales.
$500 the first year.
Yeah, and starvation for the first several years. No guarantees.
But you had a dream.
I had a dream. I knew what I was doing, and I had great mentors and great examples, and I fortunately loved it. It was a rush to be able to see ultimately a physical manifestation of my labors on the, shown on the landscape of the communities.
So good.
That I was working in. I mean, that's the biggest rush of what I get to do, is you have a tangible impact, a physical impact.
In this topic of fearlessness, then, advice to entrepreneurs who are growing a company. At what stage, and kind of what are the feelers, let's call them feelers, to go take that leap, to move out of the garage, maybe out of a Regis shared space or a Kiln shared space, maybe expand more at Kiln, because I love Arian and that team.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah. When do you go get your own office space?
Whenever you wish. Whenever you're willing to take the risk and take that leap.
Great answer.
Whenever you're willing to grow up. When you want to be a real boy, real company. I love watching the evolution of people taking their ideas from infancy, from the garage or the basement, to reality, and grow on that and expand on that. And it is the path that we're discussing here is very treacherous. I don't want anyone to think it's not very glamorous. It's a lonely walk to that parking lot or to that mailbox or whatever. It's the path of an entrepreneur is often very lonely. And it's one that can easily have a lot of self-doubt. I mean, how many, I ask, I'm going to turn the tables here a little bit. So Jeanette Bennett, how often are you the only car left in the parking lot in the last 20 years of running what really has been a communications giant here in Utah County? I mean, you publish so many of the periodicals that have chronicled the rise of Utah Valley, not just our business community, but the community at large,
well,
and the parade of homes, and
yes,
Utah.
You've been on our cover. It's been great.
So Jeanette, I'll ask Jeanette, as a fellow entrepreneur.
So many times, and I take work with me in my arms, and I take it home, and I'm finishing at home. Well, my staff is enjoying their free time after 5. So it's
how many times have you in that lonely walk out to the parking lot at night when you're the only one left, and you're scrambling trying to reinvent the wheel for your next issue or your next deal? How many times have you caught yourself thinking, what the hell am I doing?
A few, but mostly not. Mostly I feel like I'm living the dream. Mostly I've
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeanette Bennett.
Yes, I mean, to be the captain of your future is a rush, no matter what that looks like, And so that has been incredible to chronicle the stories and to do that. But you're right, it is not easy, and nobody bats 1,000. And we don't talk about those times that you're in the dumpster finding whatever.
We should talk about them more.
We should, because
success is about throwing a ton of stuff at the wall and praying that something sticks.
So many failures lead to that end outcome, the great final draft, the right ink of the deal to get it done and be able to grow and build what you want.
And not being afraid to ask for help. As a teenager jumping into business, I look back and I don't know what made me so bold, but I wasn't afraid to ask for help. I wasn't afraid to knock on the door and say, hey, how do I structure this deal? Do you have a template? Do you have any advice? Even to go to my father, who was in a completely different business. He was in the construction business, to reach out to him and ask for advice and guidance. I think that's a big part of success, is understanding that you need help. I need help now. I mean, I'm only as good as the people that I surround myself with, and I hope I'm surrounding myself with people that are smarter than I am in order to get to the ultimate destination of success, on whatever I'm working on, whether it be a project or company expansion or whatever. But that's one thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to recruit people to your cause that are better than you are.
On this quick note, then, coming to some of the retail topic, and then and space, do you have a couple tidbits of advice for a brand that is looking to get a space? What are some of the points in a deal structure that are going to help them get a space that is safe? Maybe there's an out clause. How can they structure it to really be smart? From Brandon Fugal.
Be flexible. I would say, number one, have a trusted advisor. It doesn't cost anything to have a real estate broker and an advisor help you navigate the path to securing retail locations, your space. It really doesn't. It's already embedded in every project, every mall, every physical location. They've already embedded the fee structure, whether you have representation or not. So number one, have good representation. I don't care who it is, but you need to have a trusted advisor that will help you develop the strategic roadmap to help with expansion and help you make the right decisions at the right time. Number two, flexibility, which is tough. It's tough to have flexibility in a world that is largely structured around long-term commitments. I think using data. I touched on this early in our conversation. Using proprietary data and intelligence, locational intelligence to drive your decisions. What kind of traffic patterns? I mean, a lot of we have the privilege of representing, I think, more retail tenants, more retailers than anyone in the region. And a large part of that representation involves using a team of GIS mapping consultants and researchers to help track traffic counts, demographic trends, and profiles, spending habits from one community or one submarket to another. But using locational intelligence, data, and having the right type of advisor to help you navigate it, so you're not just out there, trying to learn another business. In essence, I mean, I like to say that what we do best is allow people to focus on what they do best. Let them focus on their business while we end up helping them chart the course and develop that roadmap. I mean, if you go to court, heaven forbid, but if you have a legal issue that you're confronting, if you're smart, you're not your attorney. You
bring in the experts.
You bring in an expert. Mm-hmm. Same thing. You have a great accountant. If you're trying to protect yourself, you bring in the best tax planning advice that hopefully you can.
This is grade
procure.
A advice.
Absolutely.
For some reason, entrepreneurs and young people, it's very common they say, I'm going to do this myself. I don't need
or
help.
they think they're saving money.
Prove it. Or
they think they're saving money.
Cheap.
I'm like,
I'm too cheap to do that.
You're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Yeah.
And there's the old adage, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, don't be afraid to lean on and pull together a team of experts that you have around your table, regardless of size. It doesn't matter whether you're a scrappy startup or whether you are gaining momentum within your space or you're positioning for potential sale or some M&A activity. I think having a trusted team of advisors, and there are many out there that are anxious to engage. Many don't cost you any money on the front end. They're happy to engage without asking you to write a check. And it's there for the taking. Just being willing to go out and ask for help and to thoughtfully put together that team of advisors is, I think, it's the difference between success and failure 90% of the time.
Thank you for sharing, Brandon.
That's great advice.
What a great conversation today,
Absolutely.
right?
A masterclass.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
I wish we could talk all day.
Well, it's a privilege being here with you. I think we're just getting warmed up. I had mentioned I feel like I'm just a teenager stuck. Teenager from the 80s stuck in this body. But I feel like my best months and years are ahead. And
it's the tip of the iceberg for Utah,
I think
isn't it?
There's so much opportunity for our community. Those of you who are watching, even if the market seems discouraging right now, I have to tell you, some of the greatest, you look at Amazon.com. Amazon was born out of the dot-com bubble bursting and really being a survivor. You look at all of the risk takers. Thank goodness for the risk takers. Elon Musk, I know people either love him or hate him, but name another person in the last decades, maybe even the last 100 years, that has had a more dynamic impact on multiple sectors of our economy.
Speaking of fearless.
Yeah.
No, he's the
That guy.
You're two birds of a feather, though.
In years to come, many of us will look back there and say, thanks to Elon Musk.
Well, what a great
no
example.
doubt.
Even if you don't agree with his politics,
Sure.
you have to respect his grit. You have to, and it's that fearlessness. I'm going to go back, and this is a good way to sum up our conversation. Be fearless. Don't be afraid to take risk. With great risk comes great reward. And I look forward to the future. Look forward to meeting more incredible people in our community.
Love it. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
One of the icons of Utah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.